T'Challa, the warrior king of Wakanda, the totem of the Panther god, the king of the dead. Many names, but only one Black Panther. Before you see the movie in February, why not take this chance to learn a little bit more about the comic book stories that helped shape one of the Marvel Universe's most important heroes. I'm Cape Joel, and you're watching an all-new episode of Required Reading. Now, as with all heroes, to understand where they are today, it's important to look back on where it all started, and for Black Panther, that was the Fantastic Four issue number 52 from July 1966. Right off the bat, Stan Lee and Jack Kirby hit home what a big deal this new character was by having him go toe-to-toe with the first family of Marvel and win big in his premiere. It's right here we also get our first real glimpse at Wakanda, a technological wonderland that even manages to pique the interest of the super smart Reed Richards after they sent him a flying car. T'Challa was shown to be a man of very much depth, a warrior, a leader, a man of both science as well as ancient faith, but also a very suspicious man who sought to try and test the mettle of the Fantastic Four before he would even trust them. It also can't be understated what Black Panther's premiere meant for the social landscape of comics at the time. Here was a non-stereotypical black man from Africa, no less, who wasn't a sidekick, wasn't a side character, he was respected as a hero in his own right. Neil Kirby, son of Jack Kirby, would say in interviews years later, he felt that the creation of the hero was like his father's own personal contribution to the civil rights movement that was going on. Black Panther would only grow in popularity and quickly become a fan favorite character in the pages of Fantastic Four. That is until 1973, when he finally got the chance to lead within the pages of Jungle Action, and that first arc was called Panthers Rage. Panthers Rage would continue to refine and crystallize who the character of Black Panther really was. You see, when T'Challa returns home to Wakanda from a long trip in America, he finds it under siege by Eric Killmonger, an exiled Wakandan villain who would become one of his most recurring foes, and oh hey, he's in the movie too. Black Panther would be forced to run a dangerous gauntlet battle against all manner of dangerous wildlife as well as colorful supervillains before eventually coming face to face with Killmonger himself in an epic showdown. This multi-part saga was penned by Marvel proofreader Don McGregor, who only got the job after mentioning to the editorial staff at the time that Jungle Action's preponderance of white protagonists like Jungle Boy and Leopard Girl in such an African setting was culturally outdated to the point of being incongruous. Yeah, if you couldn't tell, the man liked big words. Panthers Rage was a series that proved Black Panther could stand on his own 2 feet and that his world was a veritable goldmine of new characters and concepts yet to be mined, which is why it still holds up so well today. Well, you know, this next entry was either going to be Black Panther joins the Avengers or Black Panther versus the Klan, and I felt I would be doing the character and you watching out there a major disservice by not talking about the major cultural impact felt by having probably the most prominent black superhero of all time go toe-to-toe with the most well-known and evil hate group of all time. This might also be a good time as any to mention before someone brings it up in the comments section. Black Panther the superhero actually predates the Black Panther Party by a couple of months. This story was so huge it spanned the end of Jungle Action and went right into 2 issues of Marvel Premiere. The story, once again penned by McGregor, in the beginning at least, finds T'Challa traveling to the American South to look into the mysterious suicide of a friend's sister. Black Panther teams up with a local crusading journalist trying to expose the Klan's activity as the reader gets a crash course in how hate groups like this work, spreading fear, violence, and everything else. The book was written in the 70s, keep in mind, and I don't have to tell you that a story like this still feels every bit as relevant today as it was when it was written. In a strange bit of serendipity, the leader of the Klan in this story goes by the name Stryker, as in William Stryker, the famous X-Men villain, but this story came first. Is it possible that Chris Claremont got inspired by this story and didn't even know it? Black Panther vs. the Klan is a visceral book that didn't shy away from featuring some very uncomfortable imagery and tackling some very serious real-world problems while also still being an action-packed, pulse-pounding superhero yarn. An important chapter in the evolution of Black Panther as a superhero, going to show that he could stand for more than just what was on the colorful printed page. And with that, everyone, we finally enter the Christopher Priest era of Black Panther comic books. Priest is widely considered to be be the definitive Black Panther writer, and with good reason. I would personally argue his entire 58-issue run to be required reading in and of itself, but I guess if you twisted my arm and made me pick just one, I would put forth 1998's The Client. This series was part of the big Marvel Knights initiative that helped pull Marvel Comics out of the post-bankruptcy slump that had been plaguing them. This story actually doesn't focus on T'Challa himself near as much as you might think. Instead, we see events through the eyes of Everett K. Ross. Yeah, that guy from the movie. This is where he was created. Together, Black Panther and Ross end up getting themselves embroiled in a conspiracy involving New York gangsters, government agencies, and oh yeah, the devil himself, Mephisto, shows up. Yep, this all makes perfect sense for a character like T'Challa, who manages to so seamlessly travel multiple genres all at once. Christopher Priest's run would also introduce us to the Dora Milaje, or Adorned Ones, a kick-ass team of elite bodyguards made up of women from warring tribes who help Black Panther out when the going gets tough. And why yes, you can also see them in the new movie too. So if you want a superhero story with lots of twists and turns that's not told in the traditional linear style and asks questions about how a government would react to a vigilante who was also an undisputed leader of a resource-rich nation, well, look no further than The Client. From there, we move along to 2005 and the Reginald Hudlin era of Black Panther. Hudlin is something of a controversial figure. Look no further than the scathing parody of him on the Boondocks' Wedgie Rudlin to see just how many in the entertainment industry view the man. But all of that aside, there's no denying that his premier Black Panther story, entitled Who is Black Panther, is fondly remembered and impactful all in its own right. Meant as something of a jumping on point for new readers, this story takes the opportunity to recontextualize a lot of T'Challa's life and the history of the Black Panther as a whole. The one panel that everyone seems to remember from Who is Black Panther is getting to see one of T'Challa's ancestors duke it out with pre-Iceberg Captain America during a World War II excursion to Wakanda. That's not the only Marvel notable to make an appearance either. Ulysses S. Claw, longtime Black Panther bad guy, plays a fairly sizable role, and we even get some smaller cameos from people like Luke Cage, who get to tell us a nice little story of how superheroes often inspire other heroes. The other big thing Hudlin's Black Panther run had going for it was a side story involving King T'Challa needing to marry for the good of his nation. The bride was kept secret, but eventually was revealed to be none other than Storm of the X-Men. More on that in a minute. Who is Black Panther proved to be so popular it spawned its very own BET animated series, also helmed by Hudlin, who just so happened to be working for the network at the time. Hey, go figure. For its more adventurous take on the hero, as well as John Romita Jr.'s instantly recognizable artwork, Who is Black Panther might be just the perfect place for someone to start. Next up on our required reading cavalcade, we come to See Wakanda and Die from 2009. This Secret Invasion tie-in story was helmed by Jason Aaron, and for those who need a refresher course, Secret Invasion saw the Skrulls, alien shape-shifting baddies from the Marvel Cosmic Universe, invade Earth all body snatcher style by switching places with prominent people, including those in the superhero community. And while everyone else is falling on their faces, Black Panther and the Wakandans stay strong and resolute, protecting their nation from invasion. In fact, it's this story right here that helps grow the legend of Wakanda never falling and never being conquered by any outside force. The standout moment for me has to be getting to see Black Panther lead his army into battle and go toe-to-toe with the Super Skrull, aka the elite alien warrior who possesses all the powers of the Fantastic Four. So, in a way, this moment kinda sees T'Challa's superhero career come full circle. Jason Aaron brings his own bone-crunching, visceral brand of storytelling to the work of Black Panther, and a lot of alien blood ends up getting spilled. At 3 issues too, it's a very brisk read and doesn't overstay its welcome. See Wakanda and Die also manages to be among the special few event tie-ins that are not only good, but are also must-reads in their own right. From one epic story to another, next up we have Doom War. As I mentioned before, Black Panther and Storm, after years of romance being hinted at between the two, eventually married. Their relationship would be put under major strain, though, in the 2010 event from Jonathan Mayberry. You see, Storm is put on trial by a radical group of Wakandans who wish the kingdom to return to its more isolationist roots. All the while, Dr. Doom readies a plan to conquer Wakanda and gain control over its vibranium resources. Victor Von Doom actually ends up kinda of being the perfect foil for T'Challa. After all, they're both kings, both scientists and warriors who walk that fine line between magic and technology. Black Panther is forced to balance his duties as a husband, a leader, and a superhero while joining forces with the X-Men to repel Doom's attack. This series was also probably the first time I really felt T'Challa's sister Shuri come to the forefront as a character, as she is not afraid to challenge her brother and her king when she feels he's not doing the right job. FYI, Shuri totally becomes Black Panther for a little bit, and Queen of Wakanda, but now I'm getting ahead of myself. In the end, in order to stop Dr. Doom, Black Panther is forced to make the ultimate sacrifice and destroy his nation's own supply of vibranium, a choice that would impact his life for years to come and forever establish Black Panther as the kind of hero who's willing to do basically whatever it takes to win. Now, after the events of Doom War come Black Panther, the Man Without Fear. You see, Daredevil Matt Murdock was forced to abandon Hell's Kitchen due to the fallout of his own event, Shadowland. T'Challa, needing to get away from the tension in Wakanda after being stripped of his king title, decided to take to the streets of New York and defend it in his own unique way. A new city means the chance to inhabit a new civilian identity, get in touch with the common man who didn't know a thing about our hero's royal heritage, and even make some new friends along the way. Being in New York also gave Black Panther the opportunity to team up with a bunch of different Marvel heroes more easily, and even get some dream team battles with the likes of Kraven the Hunter. This would ultimately end up being another short run, but Black Panther the Man Without Fear is a fun little shake-up to the status quo, and one that never outstays its welcome, which is always nice. Now, when he's not being a solo hero, Black Panther has been on more superhero teams than I can count. Perhaps his most prolific, though, came in 2013's New Avengers by Jonathan Hickman. Hickman had gotten a chance to write T'Challa during his tenure on the Fantastic Four, and it was clear that he really liked the hero because he would end up bookending his multi-year run. New Avengers would see King T'Challa join the Illuminati, aka a group of the most powerful leaders in the Marvel Universe. A team that would more often than not get up to some rather morally gray activities when it came to saving the world. Black Panther and the other heroes were also forced to make some very difficult decisions in this time in order to try and save the planet Earth from the incursion threat. But perhaps the hardest thing for T'Challa was having to work side by side with Namor the Submariner, another king of another sovereign nation who just so happened to have killed thousands of Wakandans with a massive tidal wave during a war between the two peoples. Another thing Hickman explored in this run to great effect was T'Challa's other kingly title. Not just the King of Wakanda, no, I'm talking about the King of the Dead. And indeed, as with everything from the writer, things started slow, but ended up leading to one hell of a crescendo wherein Black Panther is served incredibly well. To say anything more, though, would be a spoiler. I'll just say go read it for yourself, you won't be disappointed. And finally, we come to the modern era of Black Panther with a nation under our feet from journalist and educator turned comic writer Ta-Nehisi Coates. The series finds Wakanda in a rebuilding period after the world-shaping events of Secret Wars, as King T'Challa and the rest of the people of Wakanda try and figure out what their place in the modern world really is. Threatening the peace, however, is a new homegrown terrorist group empowered by outside sources who are trying to spark a violent uprising that would depose the royal family. The big theme of this series is change and upheaval. We see this in smaller ways, like how members of the Midnight Angels, Black Panther's own elite air-based strike force, are starting to clash against more of the old world ideas held in Wakanda. And we see it in bigger ways too, like Black Panther eventually beginning to think that maybe a monarchy might no longer make sense for his nation. If you're looking for something meaty and meditative, something that reads as much like a novel as it does a comic book, then Nation Under Our Feet is definitely the series for you. Plus, I mean, it just looks really good too. And there you have it, everybody. 10 great stories that should please any Black Panther fan, whether you've been reading from day one or you're just looking for some more fun adventures right after seeing the movie. I hope you liked the video, and as always, if you want to pick up any of these stories I've mentioned, please check out my link to Book Depository down in the description. Not only will you get a great deal, but you'll be supporting me while you do it so everybody wins. And be sure to leave a comment while you're at it too. Tell me, what hero would you like to see get their own required reading video in the future? So until next time, everyone, this has been Cave Joel. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all again later. Bye bye.